he was on, and he was living in a standalone structure on the property of his parents' house. He was recently arrested and tested positive after giving a UA that had methamphetamine in it. Was remanded back into custody, and in this proposal, we're asking to have him released to his mom as a third party, and this time he would live inside the house with his mom and his dad, and she would keep watch over him 24 hours a day.
Ms. Kemp?
So, in all likelihood, I mean, I want to hear from Ms. Gallo just on a few questions. In all likelihood, I wouldn't oppose the modification from the monetary bail if we had essentially a babysitter for Mr. Iler, but I would want PED and EM to still be a part of that calculus as well as the prior bail posting. And as I understood the proposal, and maybe Mr. Dunmeyer just meant as it related to the procedural posture that we're in right now, that his request was for a third-party custodian and no monetary bail and no PED. So I would still want PED to be able to do searches and also test him and have EM on his ankle as well. So if that is part of the calculus and I misunderstood the bail request, then in all likelihood I'm not going to have an objection in this Gallo.
Mr. Dunmeyer, before I allow you to question Ms. Gallo, is Ms. Kemp's understanding correct?
If the court imposes those conditions, I don't think I'd have a basis to object to them.
All right. Do you have questions that you'd like to ask Ms. Gallo? Go ahead. I can go ahead and have her sworn in.
Yes, please.
Ms. Gallo, can you stand and raise your right hand? I'm going to have the clerk swear you in, okay?
All right.
Ma'am, can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Dunmeyer.
So, Ms. Gallo, let's start off. Is Mr. Iler your son?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Can you tell the judge who else lives in your house with you?
My husband, Robert Gallo. That's it.
And is that Mr. Iler's father?
No, he's not his biological father. He's his father.
Okay. Would the plan be for Patrick to come and live in your house as I was describing to the judge just a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Okay, and does he, where would he stay in there? Does he have a bedroom, or would he sleep on a couch, or what would the situation be?
Well, I do have a spare bedroom that he can be in, so that would be the plan. Though I must say that, well, no, I guess we'll just go with that. Yeah, it's right next to my bedroom, in fact, so.
Okay. And do you understand that to be a third party, that Patrick would have to be either within eyesight or earshot of you 24 hours a day?
Yes.
And do you know what you would be required to do if he left the house for any reason?
If he left the house with me, then I would be required to report it to the police.
Okay, and similarly, what would you be required to do if he violated any of the rules that the judge imposes on him?
And again, I would be required to contact the police.
Okay, and do you understand that the state can charge you for a crime if you were in that position and didn't report?
Yes.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a high school teacher at Thunder Mountain.
Okay, and school shut down for the rest of the school year. Are you working from home at this point?
Yes.
Is there any reason, for example, do you have medical appointments or anything like that? Is there any reason that Patrick can't be with you 24 hours a day at this point?
I don't see why not. Probably the only issue is, after he gets out, we're going to isolate him for the first 2 weeks.
And you're talking about because of the COVID-19 situation and the possibility that he might have contracted it in jail?
Correct.
Okay, and you and I have talked about that on the phone. Can you tell the judge what your plan is in terms of isolating him?
So he has to come basically into the bedroom and stay there for the next weeks. I'll deliver food outside the door. He can use the restroom, but he's going to have to clean everything he touches and go back to the room and stay there 24/7.
Okay. And you said that bedroom is right next to yours, so even if he's in the bedroom, you're in the house, you guys could hear each other, right?
Right. Well, yeah, I'm going to he needs to do some cleanup in the yard, but he will always within sight, within shouting distance.
Okay.
Just to get some fresh air, because he needs to clean that yard.
And you'll keep an eye on him when he's in the yard?
Absolutely.
All right. Before he was on ankle monitor, and like we talked about, he was confined to the shack outside, and he still somehow managed to allegedly give a positive UA for meth. Would you, it sounds like we're all under kind of self-isolation anyways, but given that you want him to isolate, I assume that none of his friends would be allowed to come over to your house. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't think that I have any other questions for you, Ms. Gallo, but I suspect that the prosecutor might.
Okay.
Ms. Kemp?
Just a few, Ms. Gallo. So, a couple things. You mentioned that none of his friends are going to be allowed to come to the house. That includes Billie June Tonscar, is that right?
Yes, if that's what you want. She has been helping us sort through stuff. And I was saying for the first 2 weeks, do you want this to be longer? I mean, not that I want his friends around, but.
Okay, I'll clarify then what I think I hear you're saying. Within the first 2 weeks, Billie June wouldn't be permitted to come over.
Correct.
And then, are there any windows in that room that he'd be staying in?
Yes.
There are windows?
Yes, there is.
Do they open? I'm sorry, you're cutting out a little tiny bit there. I think I heard you say, yes, they open?
Yes, they do.
All right. And what are you going to do if he's in the room and you're in the living room, for instance? It'd be pretty challenging to hear him, I would assume.
A pretty small house, but I was planning to a camera that will stream to my cell phone.
Oh, okay. Have you put that up? You're going to put it out somewhere on the exterior so you can watch?
I've just got it in a. That would be fine. I could. Yeah.
Okay. Have you bought the camera already?
Oh yeah, we already have it.
Okay. And so what you're saying is you would agree to put that outside the window where his room is?
Correct.
Okay. And then as far as you posted the bail on behalf of him this last go around, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And is it your money or was it his money?
Not mine. I was given it by a friend of his named Mike.
Okay, so somebody else gave it to you to put up on behalf of Mr. Iler?
Correct.
Okay. And then, I guess I have a follow-up question to that. Why would this friend Mike, if you know, agree to give bail money to your son?
Well, I questioned him about that, of course, because, this is not normal to get this much money. And he said that had worked for him, and, he had a lot of belief in him, and thought that he would be well behaved and come. And I was like, well, if this has anything to do with drugs or anything like that, I'm dealing with it. And he said, no, he absolutely nothing to do with drugs himself.
Okay. I know that you've been through this a long time, Ms. Gallo. You have, in prior cases, posted bail on behalf of your son. Is that right?
Yes.
And have you ever been a third-party custodian for him?
No.
Okay. So I think you know the score. He's not allowed to have guns at the residence, obviously. Can that be accomplished?
Yes.
And how does your husband feel about him returning to the residence and staying there?
He's not feeling very positive about it.
Okay.
But
Has he
to try?
Okay. Has he agreed to this at least temporarily?
Yes.
Okay. If you ever think that your son's using, what kinds of tools do you have, whether it's experience or otherwise, to identify if he's using drugs?
Well, of course, recognition from being a teacher. And Patrick's demeanor and attitude changes when he is using. And, we'll be happy to search his room. And I also, I ordered tests, and they're here for him to be UA if I should suspect. Okay.
And part of what I said earlier, what my request is going to be, and the judge is going to decide whether it's appropriate or not, is that pretrial enforcement be permitted to come over and also conduct searches if appropriate.
Yes.
As well as, I'm sorry?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's fine.
Okay. And so it would be okay if they came to your home and did that as it relates to the room he'd be staying in?
That's fine.
Okay. And then they might, in addition to yourself, ask for him to provide a UA. And it's okay if they come over to do that?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Do you have any reluctance to doing this?
Yes. Of course I do.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is a hard imposition on me. My husband's really not happy with this. I'm a little nervous that he's not going to behave, and I'm going to have to call the police on my own son. I'm stuck, but I will not go to jail for it. I will not have the charges for him. I've got a perfect record, and I like it. And this is kind of a much effort. I mainly want to get him out of Lemon Creek because I'm concerned about coming down with COVID-19. He does have some health risk factors that make him at higher risk. And I want to get him into search as far as trying to get some counseling and potential treatment because he has successfully put before for a very long period of time. And, so he can, but of course I'm scared that he might not. So yes, this is difficult. This is not an easy decision for my family, and it's going to be difficult.
Okay. Okay. Those are the questions I have. Thank you.
You're welcome. I had a quick question. Will he be on ankle monitor?
Well, I haven't decided that yet. Give me a moment. Ms. Kemp, do you have any other questions?
No other questions, Judge, if that was what you asked.
And do you have, are you objecting to appointing Ms. Gallo as a third-party custodian under the conditions that you have, the additional conditions you've requested?
So, no, with those added conditions, I obviously put her in the best position to, as I understand it, she's a teacher, works at Thunder Mountain, and has done so for a number of years, and what I perceive as a mother who's trying to do the best she can for her son and is willing to take a risk. But I'm hoping that by the addition of PED and EM, that she won't have to bear that responsibility all by herself, and can have the added help, so to speak. And also, in part because of the seriousness of all of the allegations, I'm requesting that those previous conditions also stay in place, and that PED be permitted to search his room and his person for any controlled substances.
Right. Anything else from you, Mr. Dunmire?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, let me start first with, there has been a petition to forfeit the performance bond in this case. Mr. Dunmire, do you take a position on that?
Judge, I think we should hold that in abeyance until the criminal case is over.
So the way that works is you either, if you tell me that you're going to object to the forfeiture of the performance bond, then I set a hearing that trails the criminal case under Criminal Rule 41. If you don't object, I go ahead and sign that forfeiture now.
Then I will object.
All right. So, Mr. Clerk, if you could please move the petition to forfeit the performance bond to trail the trial. Put it on for further proceedings. The next date would be May 27th. All right. Based on what I've heard, the fact the state doesn't oppose it with the additional conditions, I think that it's appropriate. So, Mr. Iler, I'm going to release you under these following conditions. And then, Ms. Gallo, I'm going to talk to you in a moment about what my order is, what you're required to do, and I need some information from you before we proceed. It's important that you listen.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's important that you listen to, though, what I tell Mr. Iler, because these are the conditions that he has to abide by.
All right. Thank you.
So, Mr. Iler, I am going to put you on PED supervision. That means you're going to check in with the PED officer on the schedule that they tell you to check in on. I am going to keep you on electronic monitoring. Mr. Iler, it's really important when the electronic monitoring unit is installed in the house, you can't move it. Do you understand?
Yes.
I am ordering that PED be allowed to enter the residence to verify and maintain that equipment. Because I'm ordering Mr. Iler to be on third-party custodianship, I'm not going to, and I didn't hear the state requesting that he be restricted to the residence at 3845 Melrose Street.
So I think that under the circumstances, if mom needs to go out grocery shopping, I'm not going to insist that he has to stay, that they all have to stay there together. I mean, the idea would he would have to go with her.
Okay. Mr. Iler, you're to obey all laws, appear in court when ordered to do so, maintain contact with Mr. Dunmire. Do not depart the City and Borough of Juneau without court permission. Do not consume alcohol or controlled substances. You may be tested for the use of illegal substances. I'm sorry, alcohol is not an issue in this case. Is that correct, Ms. Kemp?
I didn't look at his criminal history to see what all the probation violations and things related to, but this particular case does not involve alcohol, no.
I don't recall if we've talked about it in the past. The prior TOs do prohibit Mr. Iler from consuming alcohol. I am only going to order, though, that Mr. Iler, that you be tested for illegal substances by PED.
Okay.
Or at PE's direction. Ms. Kemp, I heard you mention something about search conditions.
Right. I would ask that PED be permitted to search his room for the presence of controlled substances or paraphernalia, or his person.
All right. I'm adding that condition. And Mr. Iler, you're to be in the 24-hour sight and sound of your mother.
Yes.
So, Ms. Gallo, as explained to you before,
Yes.
You've now heard the temporary order, the conditions of release that I've set. Mr. Iler is agreeing to appear in court when I order him to appear, comply with the conditions that I've set. Mr. Iler, you understand if you fail to comply, you could be arrested without a warrant?
Yes.
And that you could be charged with additional crimes, violating conditions of release, for example?
Yes.
Right. And Ms. Gallo, you understand that if Mr. Iler violates his conditions and you don't report it, that you could be punished for contempt of court or charged with a crime for failure to report Mr. Iler?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And ma'am, I'm just going to ask you again, because I realize it puts you in a difficult situation, but you understand that if you believe that Mr. Iler is failing to comply with his conditions, that you must immediately report it to law enforcement?
Yes, I do.
All right. And ma'am, your last name is spelled Iler-Galau?
That's correct.
And your date of birth is November 11th, 1961?
Correct.
Your mailing address, 3845 Melrose Street?
Correct.
Your cell phone, 209-4636?
Yes.
Do you have a home phone?
No.
All right. And what about an email?
My email is EWYNSI.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
It's EOWY.
E-O?
Yes.
EOW.
YNSISTER. So it's EO and sister
Okay.
at gmail.com.
And are you willing to receive documents from the court at that email address?
Yes.
All right. So normally there's a third-party custodian form that would be signed by both you and by Mr. Iler. I'm going to basically take your signatures on the record. So, Mr. Iler, you understand everything that I've explained to you and what your conditions of release are?
Yes.
And Ms. Gallo, do you understand everything that we've gone over today and what your responsibilities are?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions about the conditions of release that Mr. Iler has been ordered to comply with?
I just wanted to ask the alcohol, if you said no alcohol or decided that was, he doesn't have, I mean, he really doesn't drink. But I just want to make sure that we comply.
Ms. Kemp, do you have a position about whether or not Mr. Iler should be prohibited from drinking alcohol?
Not really, just because I haven't looked through all of his PTRs and his original PSR,
Right.
so I don't.
Mr. Dunmeyer, do you have a position?
No, I don't.
I'm looking at the complaint. There's really nothing that indicates that anything related to this offense was related to the use of alcohol. I am ordering Mr. Iler to not possess or use controlled substances unless he has a valid prescription.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so I am considering this form signed by both you and Mr. Iler, and that you've accepted the duties of a third-party custodian.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Iler will be able to be released by you once the jail receives these forms and the electronic monitor can be placed.
The electronic monitor is still on.
Oh, it's still on. Okay.
Is the battery up to snuff?
If the unit is still in my room like it was, I just got to swap batteries.
Ms. Kemp, I don't know what what their position would be or how they'd like to do this. Is that something that you're going to contact them about?
As far as the EM, yeah, I'm just sending an email to P.O. Hutchins right now, and if they need to put a different unit on or what the deal is. But as long as the current one is charged, and then they'll sort it out.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?